Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is Wednesday, October 16th. I am Jenny Lee, and tonight I have with me, as always, Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Miss Lisa.
Hello, everyone.
And we got a lot going on. Okay, first I want to get a couple of visual things out of the way. We did this amazing interview with Andre Sorrentino, who was running for office. And a lot of the feedback that I seem to be getting is very superficial. And I'm disappointed in my viewership. I love my viewership. I appreciate that you guys tune in. But you guys were all upset he was wearing a t-shirt. That is the only negative feedback that I've got going on. And everyone wants to know about my redness. I want to explain, I have a call into the help desk. We have these green screens so that we can put up stuff. Like Lisa's got some interesting stuff for us tonight of a meeting she went to, but we're working on it. You can see sometimes I look like, oh, see, my hair goes through the boat. So I do have a call into the help desk. I think it's a lighting issue. We're just going to roll with it. But I want you guys to know I am not sunburned. I am not that white. I am. It's a combination of my screen, which is very big and very bright, which is causing this. But again, I have a call into the help desk for the program that we're using now to help us all get this fixed. So tonight is a town board meeting. They are meeting about the changes of the C6 zoning code in the township of Huntington. We were watching it before we came live. We decided to stay home due to the weather and the fact that we knew that this town board meeting was probably going to be a good 18-hour. We were going to wake up and they were still going to be going. So we decided that we're going to take more time to review it later. But one of the parts that we did hear coming on that really concerned us is the C6 zoning that this is all just proposed. Nothing's being voted on tonight or anything else. They're just taking input. But one of them said that it does not include Huntington Station. So the C6 zoning would only apply to everywhere but Huntington Station, which is where all the high density building has become the biggest problem. In fact, we were the beginning of why we pushed for it. And then Save Huntington got into it because of what they were going to do with classic galleries down there. But honestly, Huntington Station was first. We talk about the building almost every week, the 66 units per acre, that there was no codes on floor area ratio, which is they call FAR, meaning how much square footage per apartment that they can kind of condense it to kind of dumb it down completely. I recommend.
Maybe you should explain about the why it's important that Huntington Station is excluded.
Oh, well, the reason that he gave is because we have an overlay district, because they voted for us to be a hotel district. I think a lot of people still don't realize that that hotel is going in whenever they could finally get an investor. They haven't been able to get anybody to invest, but it's going to replace the parking lot next to the Huntington Community First Aid Squad, the one that they all use. But that's where it's proposed. You can go to sourcethestation.com. You can see all of the plans that this master developer has for that tiny little stretch of Huntington Station. But the problem is the C6 capping does nothing to help the people in Huntington Station, and we're the ones that had the most problem. When Avalon Bay came, the biggest thing that we won with Avalon Bay was getting rid of the TOD, which is the Transit Orientated District. It was a quarter-mile circle around the train station because they planned on going up all around the train station, just like you're starting to see in Patchogue and a couple of the other places where they're building near all the trains. It's also part of the whole regional planning to implement what we used to say was a conspiracy theory, but it's not, but the Agenda 21 plan to kind of force people to be closer to places where they work, eat, sleep, play together. And that's pretty much what they're doing. They want everyone around the mass transit, out of cars and on bicycles. Okay, that was a lot. So we are going to bring you an update on the C6 when we are better able to absorb what is happening at the meeting tonight. Until then, we're going to bring you all the other juicy gossip that's not fit to print. Where shall we start? Oh, let's go over to Lisa real quick. Lisa went to a meeting that was in Centerport. Lisa, show them your map. Go.
All right. So last night I went to a meeting at the for the Centerport Harbor Civic Association. And let me tell you something. I was really, really surprised. It was a packed house. Packed house. Everybody was there.
I'm having a hard time with your volume, Lisa.
Can you hear me now?
Better.
I don't know why. All right, I'll try to move closer. So here is a little map that I took a picture of, and everything in the blue is all of the development that they're proposing. And this is East Main Street. So here it is from the pond right here.
Are you having a hard time hearing her too, Dana? Lisa, we need you to get closer to the mic because we cannot hear what you're saying, and what you're saying is more important than looking at the map, but I see it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Better.
Now, don't move when you talk.
Right.
Okay, I'm not gonna move. All right,
Okay.
so you see the map here. You see this is East Main Street. You see where the pond is. This is where the Eagle is over here. This is the chalet. Everything in blue, all the way to Northport Road, where the corner is, where that old gas station is. They want to build all of this right there.
Okay, we're still having a major issue with your sound, but okay,
Right,
go
so
back to your map. So everything that's in blue is proposed to be developed. And what you're looking at is the area right by outside the road of 25A outside Mill Pond. The blue piece on the top left-hand side is what's located next to the Eagle's Nest. Go ahead, Lisa, but try to get close to your mic.
I'm on the top of my computer here.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's only when you move. When you're sitting straight in the middle, we can still hear you perfectly fine.
Right. Get right back in the middle.
I'm not moving on the top of my computer.
I think she's under her desk now. Lisa, get in the middle of your photo.
Something's wrong with Jennifer.
Hello, hello.
Better.
Look at my forehead.
Yes.
I don't want to see it.
Now. What the hell?
Okay, that's
No,
better.
Lisa,
Stay there.
it's whenever you're not centered, like how you are right now. I don't know what happens, but the volume goes down.
Right, and then nobody can hear you.
All right, I'm not moving my forehead.
Okay.
So, chalet, there's plans that they're selling the chalet, and there's plans to build. Build what? No one knows. Jellyfish. If you can read what this says, I can't move my head, so I can't read it now. Here is the brand new site where the thatched cottage used to be. It's going to have a maximum capacity of 857 people. No parking, right? No parking. Move down the road to the 7-Eleven that they want to build, and so on and so on. It's absolutely ridiculous. People are pretty upset about the new construction, the water quality over here. Doc Spencer was there, said there'll be a lot more testing of the water. And obviously the water is important because the water is, we drink it, the eagles are eating what's in it. So there's a lot of talk. Now, last night, if you can still hear me, in particular, Joan Serble was in attendance. And I asked her, she went on and on and on about how proud she was of her accomplishments in Huntington, from back when she was working with Frank Petrone. I asked her what makes her proud of her accomplishments with the EDC in the CDA, especially since there are so many empty businesses in Huntington Station and surrounding area. If I can quote her, can you still hear me?
Yes.
You know what? Why don't you put yourself in the center? We don't need your forehead. We can hear you great when you're in the middle.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. So I'm going to read some quotes from her after I asked her that question. It took her a few minutes to answer me. She said that she is proud of her new accessory apartment law. There's where the owner can actually stay in the accessory apartment and they can rent the rest of the establishment. She was proud of that. She also said that, remember, all of this building is still under Petrone's doing, and it is what it is, quote unquote.
What? Wait, go back. I'm sorry, Lisa. Wait, what?
She said that all of this building is still under Patron's doing. So it is what it is. It's coming. It's moving forward. And that's all there is to it. She also said that the reason why all these empty buildings are the way they are in the station and throughout New York Avenue, and you know how far it goes, it's because of Amazon and our habits, quote unquote. That's why we have all these empty buildings. So let's just keep building more. That's what she said. That's what she said. Her other quote was, she hasn't even begun on building affordable housing, quote unquote, since we don't have any yet. We have to get a handle on it, quote unquote. And then she said lots of other things that made no sense. No sense. But she kept talking.
Does she remember that she was working for the EDC and pretty much helped Frank Patron get all of this pushed through? And I mean, she wrote all the grants for all this stuff.
This is what she said.
So this was all Frank's fault, but it had nothing to do with anything of her. I mean, was it Frank's fault when he hired her?
Yeah. And I have this all taped. I have a recording of everything that everyone said. Even her friend Cleary, who went on and said she's all for the smart building. She's all for smart building, and she's looking forward to all the new projects. Yeah. So, yep. But we have issues with sewers, shitty water. Just keep building. So.
Who else
did
was
he
there?
actually say it is what it is?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
It is what it is. There's more building. We need it.
We need it
for it. There's a
we need it where?
We need to build more of these buildings that are going to sit empty because our habits of shopping on Amazon are too great.
And our habits are horrible. That's why there are so many empty buildings in Huntington Station, Melville, all up and down the 110 corridor. It's our fault because of our habits.
I wonder what study that they've decided to, she didn't quote any particular data that supports that claim, did she?
No, and she also admitted that we don't have any affordable housing and she understands it, but more is coming.
Because, oh, that's great. More unaffordable housing is coming. Do you know why I don't shop in Huntington Station? Because there's no, I'm sorry, why I don't shop in Huntington Village in that area?
For the same reason I don't, because there's no parking.
There's no parking. I go to Green Lawn for most of my needs because there's adequate parking, and the parking that's there, I'm not charged for. So there's actions that they have taken that have created and aggravated the situation. They passed the parking issues. They did that. They decided to raise the fees.
Right, but she's very happy that something is coming down the pipe where we can pay for an app and find parking. It's rolling out soon.
I need an app to find parking. It's so bad.
Yes. Yes.
That's really great. And when it tells you Connecticut time and time again. Sorry. Sorry. I don't know what to do to fix this. They're so out of touch with the average people.
They want to pave paradise and they want to put up a whole bunch of bull crap parking lots and call that parking.
And they're such major that they bought the Chase Bank and it's all cut off. Like, why can't we at least park there until you rebuild it?
I don't know what is going on tonight.
Am I wrong? Am I the crazy one here? Like, I know I'm not crazy, but I also have a lot of common sense. Maybe that's what's missing in our government.
There's no common sense in this government. There's none.
I'm not coming to the show next time it rains. Something's going on.
Make it poor. Make it poor.
Oh,
all right.
Lord.
You know what? Let's What else happened at that meeting? And then I want to get over to our survey because I know people were waiting for results, and then I want to switch over to Dana's post today.
Nothing. I mean, Andre got to speak. Andre is all for putting the brakes on this overdevelopment. Patrick Deegan got up to speak. He had a couple of great things to say. They all had a chance to speak. Mark Cuthbertson, he left early. I did see him in the audience, but he ran off to go somewhere.
I don't know why he's not the one running around to all of these events to get elected.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned Doug Spencer. AJ Carter was there.
God.
He works with Joan.
Yes.
He does.
Rhea was there. Chad was there. Who else?
He was there as a spectator, or was he speaking?
Both.
Oh.
Both.
Hmm.
Everybody had a chance to speak. Gene wasn't there. He was at another engagement, GOP event.
I saw like 2 or 3 actually, and I saw that Andre was at a bunch also. I don't know how
They were all late. Everybody who showed up, they showed up late.
Yeah, you said
had
Tony
other
was an
events.
hour late. But again, she has, this is probably the only time I'm actually going to defend her. They all have multiple events. We're 3 weeks out
They did.
from the election, and they're torn. This is another event, and clearly it's important. It's about overdevelopment, more overdevelopment.
And they got pictures to prove it. They were all somewhere, and
Right.
they did make an appearance at this. It was important, and developers were there. Lots of people were there.
Okay.
So it was pretty good. But yeah, nobody in that audience was a fan of all this overdevelopment in Centerport here. They're building, so right up in here, I'm not a weather person, I can't do this, forget it. So there's gonna be a funeral home right on the top of my head there. There's gonna be a funeral parlor right where Doc Spencer's office used to be. They're building a funeral parlor. They're building.
See, when she leans over there, we lose her on the mic.
Mhm.
When if you're not in front of your computer, we lose you on your mic.
I'm right here in front of it.
That's better. That's it. You can't lean
Now
anywhere.
I can hear you clearly. I don't know. It's just something about how it's moving.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. All right, so like I said, this spillover parking, funeral parlor up there, and you got to remember, if you've gone down there, you know where the chalet, and you
Mhm.
drive down the road. What is it? Not even a quarter of a mile, and
Mhm.
all over this development. I mean,
Yeah,
It's-
but
it's-
that chalet has a potential.
fire department is right here, right?
The chalet has the potential to really be a huge high density project that would
You know it
capture
is.
a lot of money overlooking the pond. And you know that that's where they're leaning because that's what they do. And they'll call it affordable housing. They'll call it veterans housing and get in and it'll be $5,000 a month. And I'm not even exaggerating with that price point because you're in Centerport and you're on the pond.
And to these developers, they don't even live here. They don't know what it's like to live here. People in Centerport bought those homes. They bought that lifestyle in Centerport because that's what they wanted. They didn't want to live in Huntington Station, or else they would have paid the big bucks to be living, not to be living in Centerport. They would have moved to, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, we know.
What happened to Doc Spencer's office? He left it?
I don't know. I guess, I don't know.
I would
Maybe
love to see
maybe
him-
they bought him out because they wanted to build stuff over there.
I would love to see him
Good
leave his
question, but
office.
I'm not
You
really
would-
sure.
I would love to see him leave his office. I would. He
Eventually.
doesn't do anything. I mean, I watched the Suffolk County legislation stuff and he really doesn't do anything. And he's not,
The man needs a nap sometime.
he's just,
gotta-
I don't know.
Gotta take him where you can get him.
There's nothing clever about him. There's nothing wonderful, but whatever. They keep electing him. I don't know what's wrong with that seat over there that they just keep doing that. Whatever. Let's do Survey Monkey really quick. Okay, just to get it out of the way. We used survey. I tried to put it up a different way on Facebook, and Facebook does not want you to do polling. It gives you an option of either or. I had to take down my original poll on Facebook a couple times. I wanted more than I wanted the 5 options of people who were running for town council. So I had to find an open group that wasn't closed that I could create it in, because you can only do that in open groups. And then everybody decided to join the defunct group because I was sharing this poll out of it. So I ended up with SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey was started, we ran this from October 8th to October 16th, and there were 195 votes cast. I specifically had people put this survey polling in groups that I have been banned from, so that I didn't.
Wait, what, Jenny?
Well, I didn't want it to be a reflection of the people who are friends with me. Otherwise, it's just, I'm operating in a vacuum, and I'm just, it's just people agreeing with my opinion of who I've gotten along with. I didn't want that. The poll only allows 1 IP per vote, so you can only vote once from your IP address. So we had them put it in, the groups. Basically, I had a friend of mine who knows all the people who do not like me, and I'm okay with that. And just to get an accurate picture of how people felt. So we had 195 people. Are you ready? Give me a drum roll.
I don't know, you might not be able to hear it.
All right, do you want me to go in order, top to bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, out of 195 votes, number 1 with 43.58% of the polling was Andre Sorrentino. Number 2 with 31.28% of the polling was Jean Cook. Number 3 with 10.25% of the
Let me guess. Patrick.
was Patrick Deegan. And it was crazy that Kathleen actually beat Joan. Joan came in dead ass last. Kathleen got 7.69% of the vote, and Joan got 7.17% of the vote. Now, remember, she was originally appointed to the position. She did win, but I think a lot of people just don't like what she's done. I think the accessory apartment, even though she embraces it, she, of course she's going to think it helped all sorts of people. A lot of people didn't like how it doubled the density and overflow parking, and there were a lot of things that just weren't great about it. And she's a panderer. She really is a panderer. Okay, surveys. What do you think of the survey? That was fun. We never did a polling before.
I wish it was more people, because that went to a lot of groups.
And it went to a lot of groups.
Thousands of people.
But when you go to Rasmussen and you look, typically they're going to be anywhere from 300 to 1,000. So for a small town like this, in a small election, this is actually, I would consider a fair sampling. I also think, based upon what I know about Facebook and what I know about myself, I think I have a level of shadow banning, because I post a lot of political things, and I think Facebook does suppress a lot of my posts. I have people who tell me, like, I have to come to your wall to find out what you post because you don't show up in my feed anymore. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Hopefully they'll be addressing big tech soon. All right, Dana, do you want me to do a screen share on, I'm not going to go to your wall, but it was a news article that came out today. Why don't you go ahead and set it up for everybody while I go find it?
Well, it was an article that came out today in regards to Councilman Cook wanting to have an ethics, of all things, review of the town attorney, Nick Ciapetta, holding school board seat, being a school board trustee, being a town attorney, and being what he took over for Pat Delgo. It's skipping my mind. The
deputy supervisor.
Yeah.
So if Chad has a heart attack tomorrow, he's the supervisor of the town of Huntington.
Yes. So there was an issue, he called to have a ethics investigation in regards to that. I just find it extremely odd that he would want to call ethics on anyone. Didn't you hire your friend's wife as a favor to your friend, and she got paid, hardly showed up, and she was a part-timer collecting full-timers' benefits?
I
Then,
remember you wrote last name Casper. I think I know who that was. But this
no, that
isn't about nepotism. This is about him holding positions at the school and the town. Can I tell you I want you to go ahead and go back to it, but there's actually background here as to why this happened now. And believe it or not, it involves Jimmy McGoldrick.
I just find it odd that he is running on a Republican line and he almost seems to, have so much ill things to say about most Republicans. And while you may feel you have a side story, I don't care what goes on, because why wasn't he outraged when Chad hired those 11 white males? Oh, because some of his friends were a part of that appointee. So that Chad is okay. The supervisor's okay, as long as he follows the rules and he plays along the way they want him to play along. I don't get why you waited. Nick is the town attorney has been in his seat for how long?
Mhm.
Okay. And now conveniently you're up for re-election and you bring it in. The
So
fact of the matter is he's fell back on a number of the things that he once stood for. And now he's just creating things that, in my opinion, just trying to get the spotlight off of him.
So last week, Jimmy McGoldrick caught somebody stealing the lawn signs off of his lawn. And he followed the car and he took pictures of it and got the license plate. Come to find out, it was a South Huntington student. So Jimmy McGoldrick went to the principal of the school, and the principal of the school contacted the superintendent, and the superintendent contacted Nick. You could ask Nick, you can ask Jimmy, this is how it went down and why it's coming up now with the election. So Nick apparently called and said, listen, I handled it. He said, I took care of it. And so the question then became, well, which Nick handled this? Did you handle this as the president of the school board? Did you handle this as the town attorney? Or did you handle this as the deputy supervisor? Because honestly, the police should have been brought in. Not that I think any kids' lives should be ruined over it, but why did he handle it? Why did he choose to step in and do that? So it does say, what hat were you wearing when you decided to intervene in the situation? But he also refused to give what actions were taken. And this is why Jimmy got into a huge uproar. And so I guess he took it to Gene Cook, who took it to the ethics department and said, well, who is he when he's in this capacity? And he said, well, you're going to have to put it in writing for me and I will look into it. And what's interesting is even on the article that was written, which was not greatly written, David Ambro he is heavily leans towards Democrats. There were a lot of errors in what he reported there. But what was even more so is they quote the fact that, I think it was Chad who was quoted in the article, that they are forbidden to serve on a school board and be the supervisor of the town, but it doesn't apply for any other town elected position. But if Chad was to die, he would be the supervisor. So in my feeling, I would think morally it should also apply to that position. And honestly, it just doesn't look good. How do you effectively pull off all of those positions? How do you?
It is a lot of hats. That's for sure.
Is that a squirrel butt?
What?
It is. Okay. I see your background.
I just can't, I can't, I really can't. It's no secret. I'm not a fan of Gene's politics. And I think he's definitely has not been upfront with people of color, and he's done nothing for us, and he's made promises, and he's also fell back on other things. I'm not here to negate, his personal lifestyle or anything of that matter. All I'm talking about is what he wrote in the paper, and he should stick to what he's trying to do and get reelected and stop going on about the town attorney, because the fact of the matter is Chad may have appointed him, but he had to get 4 votes to get on. So
yeah, I know. And I'm wondering,
what are you doing there? And God forbid, if something should happen to the supervisor, Nick is an attorney. He has passed the bar. He has gone to school. I think he has enough common sense to know if he had to fill in that position, he would either have to give up, he would have to give up one or the other.
But he probably didn't have a problem with it until this incident went down last week, because that's why. I mean, he never turned him into the ethics before, and there was a trigger there that caused that to happen, and the trigger was that the student got caught stealing the lawn signs, and he intervened in that process.
But where's the proof that he intervened? Where's all this paperwork?
No,
where did all
I don't have paperwork, but you can call him and ask him, and you can ask Jimmy McGoldrick.
I'm asking him right now. I'm asking him as we speak. Where is this coming from?
Yeah, no, honestly, please ask him, because this is
I am.
from you know, Jimmy was very upset his lawn signs were getting stolen, and
So
he
was
was
Lisa.
more upset when he found out it was a student. So, and that's hard for Jimmy because it's a kid. So, and you know, Jimmy shoots from the hip. But that's my understanding as to why it happened now.
So because Jimmy decided to go, he followed some kid's car,
He
and
didn't
I'm
go as a kid until after he took the photos and took him to the police.
and how would he know? How would he know that was the kid's car? Because a kid
He
usually
followed-
doesn't have, but a kid usually doesn't have a car registered to themselves. So it had to be a parent
because
or maybe a friend.
he followed them. He took pictures of all the signs in the kid's car and went to the second precinct to find out who, and gave him the evidence.
So again, we don't know if the person driving the car was actually who it was. We just know who the car was registered to, because all he had was a license plate, and
Well,
he had.
he saw who did it. That's why he started chasing them.
Okay, but again, you don't
Actually,
know.
I'm sorry. He has a lot of it on not Nest, but one, I think Arlo or one of those other cameras. So
But again, he doesn't, unless he physically went to that person and said, "Who are you?" He can only go by who the car is registered if all he has is a license plate. Because the person could have pulled up to my house and came in my house, and you could
Well,
say he lived here.
So this is what happened, according to Jimmy, and that's how it ended up there. And Nick intervened, and I don't know the final outcome, but that's why it happened. You asked, why is this happening now? That's why. That was the trigger. There were signs that were stolen. Apparently it was a student, and Nick decided to intervene. So the question then became, who are you intervening as? The town attorney, or the deputy supervisor, or as the school board president? That's how this all went down and why it happened now.
But isn't that a job for either the police or the principal?
And that's what
Yes.
I'm saying. This should have
And this
been
is what I said.
between the police
That was the
and the
answer.
kid only. This should have been the police only.
That was the answer that was given. That was one student a few weeks ago, and it was addressed, but the conduct was done off school property. There's not much he could do about that.
Right.
And it was turned over. So I'm not sure what Jimmy's talking about or what anyone else is talking about, but the story in itself has a lot of loopholes, because you can't tell me you know who's driving the car unless you ask who drove, unless you got the license and you know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I leave it to
So
you.
why? Now you have a separate issue, because if the police are giving out someone's information and Jimmy is not, he's nobody to be giving out somebody's information, that's a violation of that person's rights.
And I really, honestly, I'm giving you the information. I hope you get to the bottom of it, and we can come back next week with a resolution on it.
I can't take stupid politics. I cannot. If
And
you
you're right,
can't
Dana.
argue-
If it happened off, and it was not a school activity, Nick had no right getting involved.
and he did it. He put it on to the police. He did what he was supposed to do. But
But
you
we don't
can't
know.
tell me.
We don't
You
know.
can't, well, he's not going to lie to me. And you can't tell me you even know who this person is. You never
We
spoke
didn't-
to the person.
You're contacting Nick right now to find out?
First of all, everyone knows I don't fly off the lip.
No.
I'm going to go direct. No, I'm just saying I go directly to the source. I don't have time for this back and forth.
And why didn't you
Let me
call
tell
Gene?
you,
Then why
let me
didn't you call Gene and ask him? Because you have a direct number to Gene also.
I do not have a direct number to Gene. That I don't have. But here's my thing. Forget politics aside. Forget all of that. I know if my son or daughter was driving a car and someone took their license plate and the police gave out my information to someone that was a regular Joe Schmo, I would sue the pants off that the precinct. I would sue the pants off the person. How dare you? Imagine somebody followed one of your kids home. She may have been in the car, and then
They
you say,
stole their property.
"Where even if that's the case, that is a police issue. And if the
Right.
child is a student, that child is a minor. You
Right.
have no right saying where that student goes to school. You have no right saying anything about a minor. And the police are hell stupid if they release that information. That's, forget politics, forget all of that. I'm talking as a mother. If you release my kids' information, you're going to have a problem, a big problem. And forget the police. I'm going to take care of it myself. How dare you? How dare you? Politics are that dirty. And you know how big Jimmy's mouth is. Let somebody try to go after one of his grandkids. He'll be in there acting like a damn ape. So please,
I'll send
that's
you
the
his
issue.
number too, so that you can call.
That's the
also.
issue. I mean, I don't mind if you find out stuff, and if it's true, it's true. But do it the right way. You don't know. It's too many loopholes in that story. Too many. But what gets my goat is when you bring kids involved. What's wrong with you?
Well, the kid involved themselves by going on the properties. That was the triggering moment. And we broadcast video of kids. Also, those look like young kids. They could be young kids, and we did not agree with what they were doing. But I also, if you want to get back to Nick holding all these positions, I remember when we had the election with that, I forget the guy's name, but he won the water district. Do you remember when we were saying you shouldn't be holding two positions in the same town? It's just not right. He was elected to what position? He was super smart. And I kept saying, oh, he's too smart to even be doing what he's doing. But he was also, then once he lost, or he won that, then he ran for, it was Green Lawn, I'm going to get his name, Green Lawn
John or
Water
something?
District, John something.
Yeah,
Clark? Was it
I
Clark?
know who you're talking about.
Was it John Clark?
Something like that. He won the Green Lawn Water District. None of us were okay with him holding all these different positions in town, and it shouldn't be different just because we like Nick.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with liking Nick. The same thing happened to Dom. If you think you could do the job, then do it. I don't like, unless you're slacking, I don't think I don't base my politics on who I like and who I don't like. I can like you as a person and can't stand your politics, but I just think that if he's doing what he has to do, what's the issue? I don't understand. But if that's a valid question, I don't have a problem with people addressing it. What I have a problem with is the foolishness. Just stick to the damn topics. Stop trying to sling mud.
Like
That's
even with Dee Thompson, I'm going to drag her back into this. She was on all sorts of boards. Weed seeds, this, that, and everything else. She was like on 27 boards. And to me, you're not effective when they're just putting you on boards to be a vote for something when you don't have the time to really dedicate to the nonprofit. It's just make room for other people. And just, when you're looking into ethics, and I think it's remember when we had that old issue with Xavier? He's on the school board, what he does for a living, and had ended up in the New York Times article and ProPublica. The one thing we kept saying when it was looking into the ethics of it is you're not to even give the appearance of it being wrong. He's on 3. It doesn't look good. I mean, that's my personal opinion. You're fine with it. I'm not okay with it. I've always been consistent that I think that you should have one person per. And is he drawing a salary? That's another thing. I know it's not on the school board. That's a volunteer position. But is the deputy supervisor? I don't think it is. Because you should believe he draw 2 salaries, but I don't think it is. But if it is, that's also wrong.
I don't think he's collecting a salary. That I'm just saying, I don't know. I've never asked him. Again, he volunteers his time for the children here in School District 13. He does a fantastic job. He's very dedicated. This man is up 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning trying to figure things out. And he has no kids of his own. So that's some real dedication. If he ever slipped, he knows I'll be the first person to let him know. And he's doing what he has to do as a town attorney, unless you have something else to prove it.
Well, let's completely get down to the bottom of exactly what happened. You can reach out to Jimmy McGoldrick and Nick and find out if those 2 stories match up and how it came to be. And we'll follow up on the subject next week. But that would explain why the ethics complaint was filed and done. You know what I mean? Like, that's why time.
I'm going to file a citizen's complaint and find out why the hell the police department is giving out information.
Well, let's find out for sure. We got to start with Jimmy. Jimmy was the first person who started this with he didn't start it, but he's got video of his lawn signs getting stolen that ended up being a student. That's the beginning of where we should start investigating the crime that occurred.
You could do it that way. I'm going to go directly to the precinct because you said that's where you got the information from. Just the same way you handled it when June was giving out information. You went directly to the precinct. That's exactly where I'm going. The same way you did it with June is the same way I'll handle this, because I just cannot fathom you giving out a kid's information.
Well, don't you want to ask Jimmy what was the exact
No,
course of
I
action?
don't, because it doesn't sound right, and I don't want to get into. He talks very aggressively, and he gets overexcited.
I'll reach
The
out
two
to
of us
Jimmy.
together, we will not get anywhere, because you know how I am already.
I'll reach out to Jimmy and I'll see if he's willing to come on here and tell us exactly what happened. This way we have the full story. I want to have the full story. Shit, you can have Nick on too. I mean, everybody come on, and we could actually host up to 100 people here, because I paid that much for this program.
Let's do it.
Oh, Lisa, can you turn that squirrel around? You're at the bottom of a squirrel butt.
You don't like my squirrel butt? Oh,
You're at the bottom of it.
he's so cute. Like the pictures I shared today at Extra Park. I got the duck butt.
Yeah,
standing
that
up in
one
the
was
air.
so
That
cute.
was
That was-
hilarious.
Okay, we kind of briefly touched on this in our interview with Andre, but there's a petition circulating right now to allow leashed dogs at Heckscher Park. And it has 1,500 signatures on it already.
Wow.
Thoughts? Besides, I mean, duck poop? Duck poop, anybody? Don't you
I
think
I
that would
don't have
help?
that, so I don't know. I don't like, I'm not an animal lover, so I don't really ever have anything to say about that.
You never took your kids to the park when they were little? I mean, the
I don't
duck
my
poop
kids-
is a
You-
problem.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've only taken my children to Heckscher Park once. It was filthy, and I never took them back.
Oh,
Sorry, we don't go to places like that. But I took them once, and I mean, it was disgusting,
Oh.
disgusting.
it's much nicer now. Andre's done a
Yeah,
great job.
that.
His team over there have done an amazing job. I love how he told us how they get in there with the fire hose every morning. They give it a rotary. I think it's a great idea. I see it. It's got a lot of people that support it. I can't imagine somebody not want. I mean, the dogs are in the grocery store, and I don't like it. People are bringing dogs in the grocery store. I'm not a fan of that, but they're abusing these not sympathy, but animals for help me. If you can't leave
Therapy dogs.
therapy dogs, they're
Therapy
abusing.
dogs.
Yes, that's better.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like that end of the
They're
story.
because their feelings. It helps their feelings.
Yes, but they're abusing it. I'm of the theory of thinking if you are blind and you need a service animal for any other reason to help you around, I get it. But if you can't go food shopping without putting your small dog in a bag and bringing it into the store, because this happened to me last week. I put the video up on my wall, and the poor dog was barking and crying the whole time. Dog didn't want to be in the store, but you could bring your dog in the grocery store, but you can't bring your dog to the park on a leash. It'll help chase away some of the ducks, which is causing the problem with all the other issues in the water over there that they're having to fire hose it to begin with.
Right.
Isn't
But, I mean, I hope that people will want to be picking up their dog crap, because the people that are there cleaning up all the goose crap and everything else, I mean, that is in their job description of
Most
the park.
people have on
They're
their
not gonna be wanting
leashes.
to pick up dog crap.
Most people pick up their own dog poop.
Most.
We could put sunscreen at the beaches. We could put little bags for people to put the poops. Listen, would you rather have billions of pieces of duck poop or a couple piles of dog poop that somebody forgot to pick up?
I don't want to have no poop.
I don't want to eat poop either.
I don't want no poop at all. That's disgusting.
I wouldn't mind so much stepping in goose poop than I would dog poop if I had the choice. But hey, I'm not opposed to some dogs, but then again, I don't want this turning into a dog park either, because that would be crazy.
No, well, it's leash.
I'm not
that's not a dog
for or
park.
against it, really. I'm not really sure how it's going to go. But I mean, I'm a dog lover, you know that, but I don't want it to be abused and get out of control.
I said I called King Cullen, and they said they don't enforce it, but they do have. It's actually the DEC or one of them you're not really, unless it's a registered service animal, you're not supposed to have.
Nobody needs to bring their Shih Tzu and put them in the cart.
I wanted to bring my chicken. I'm like, if you guys don't enforce this, I'm going to bring my chickens down.
Lisa said shih tzu.
Tzu.
But she said shit. I was like,
She
what?
did.
But then
You
I
don't need to bring your
I
little
thought
shih
that's
tzu when you're shopping in the produce department. You just don't need to.
that's gross.
You
That's
just don't. I mean, there
Because-
really isn't any reason for it.
They're called emotional support animals now that I finally found the word. If you are that emotionally unstable that you cannot go food shopping without your dog, you probably should order your food delivered to your house.
Since we were talking about dogs and stuff at Heckscher Park, I do have one thing to say that I noticed today. If you're not going to bring some cracked corn or alfalfa sprouts or cracked wheat germ for the ducks, geese, and the swans, please don't have your kids dumping freaking potato chips. so that
It's,
the
i-
grease
it's
will
illegal to feed them at all.
The
Don't
ducks
bring potato
diet?
chips
Yeah,
to the
you're not
park.
supposed to feed them at all.
This woman is bringing potato chips and letting her child feed the geese potato chips. You know, you ever notice the grease trail from the potato chips when these people are throwing them in the water? It's disgusting.
Most people
I
don't think.
It's common sense. I mean, I just don't understand why people do that.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
all.
Right, and then the little kid, you know, didn't give him enough greasy potato chips, but had to literally dump the bag out, make sure they got every single dropping of the grease at the bottom into the water.
They should get them for littering for that. It's still littering.
And that really
But
made
it's illegal. It's illegal. You know what? We have a lot of laws, but we have a lot of things that just simply are not enforced.
No, if you're that stupid, I mean, you just don't have any common sense whatsoever. You shouldn't even be allowed in the park.
That's gross.
So you want like an IQ test?
Yes, before you enter.
Yeah.
Yes, we
You
need.
ain't gonna have nobody in that park.
On general services need to hire me to sit there with my chair and check your bag for potato chips before you can enter.
I'm gonna do a
These all
screen.
crap bags. And
I'm
then you
gonna-
can enter.
I'm going to do a screen share on this one. We got about 10 minutes left because I want you guys to see his face, not just you, but everybody else. This week we had an attempted abduction of a child from a homeless man.
He was
Well, that's how they decided to say he was homeless. Yeah, homeless. He's probably one of the men that lives in Breezy Park in the woods back there, because homeless live and stay somewhere, and we do have a large group of the homeless Hispanic men that live in the middle of the woods outside of Breezy Park, in between Jefferson School.
They are. They are.
That's a true story?
They really are
Yeah.
there, Dana. They
Dina,
are.
my husband and my son, and I used to do it, not anymore, bike rode through there.
I
And
remember.
once you get deep enough that you remember that, right? I
Yeah.
even talked about it at the police precinct, and they're aware of the situation. And she said that they're largely an illegal population, and they're homeless, non-domiciled, but that's because they want to stay under the radar. You know, even living in the woods in the middle of Huntington is better than where some of the people came from. So it's like it's not they don't consider it homeless, but so she's 4 years old. He was touching her hair, gave her a stuffed animal, and tried to get her to come with him at the Huntington Public Library, not even the Huntington Station branch, but the Huntington one right in the village. His name was Jose Aparicio, and he was charged with endangering the welfare of a child. I'm sure there's not much we can do. You know,
The one right next to the 7-Eleven in Huntington Station.
no
It's
man,
the train station.
no.
It says the station branch. That's not in the village.
Touched her hair at the Huntington Public Library. Quotes, station branch. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. So it was the Huntington. I was like, can you believe it happened in the village? Oh my God. But yeah, it did. You know, no matter where it happens, it's not good. 4 years old, little girl, 4 years old.
That's so disgusting. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with you that you would touch a 4-year-old girl?
There you
What are you thinking?
He was stroking her
Thank
like
you.
Joe Biden.
Not only, what are you thinking? What were your intentions? What were your intentions? That's the scariest. It's not even that he did what he did. The scariest, I know what you're, yeah, I know. But the scariest to me is what
Jenny, I'm not coming on here anymore
I know you're looking for an excuse to
because
get
you can't do these things when we live.
He was stroking her hair like Joe Biden does.
creepy sniffer.
That's how they described it. And it is a little creepy. And he's not like you said Biden gets a pass because that's how those old timer group is. But this guy is in his 20s. No excuse.
No, he said that was, first of all, she's 4 years old.
Right.
Okay.
So
So why would you be, first of all, where was her parent?
because
Because
her
my
parent was right there. No, her parent was right there. The parent was the one who called the police and got him arrested. Yep.
they found the, okay, because my son is 8 and I can tell you he is always in arm's length of me, always. And he's no small fry. I mean, he's not a fat guy, but you know, he's 8. So I don't understand how anybody would get that close to someone's child that you could stroke her
Your
hair.
child.
Right.
Right
Stroke
up
her
to
hair, give her a stuffed animal.
I'll give you something, all right.
I would have beat him senseless.
I would have been in jail because I would have punched him out right there. I wouldn't have waited for the police. I just would have gone off right
I
there.
don't know what I would have done. I don't think I would have been able to stop myself if I caught that. I really don't.
I would have grabbed my kid and beat that man with the kid.
And
I could have beat you with my baby.
keep my own kid.
I would have beat him with a book right to the throat.
Right? Pushed him
And
into
it would have
the
been over quick.
knock down all the books. Yeah. That's how
Yeah.
we roll.
I guess.
Before we close, we do want to touch on this hour always goes so fast. Why does
It
this hour go so fast?
Did.
Gosh. All right, I gotta bring up Lisa's thing concerning Long Island. Okay, I just want to make sure that we didn't have anything. Sometimes we write things that we shouldn't write, and then I show the screen and I go, why are we here? Heartland is back on tap. Looks like, can you see that?
Mm.
There is a public information meeting for operational improvements from the Department of Transportation at Crooked Hill. So this is all Heartland. They're talking about improving the roads so that they can move forward with the project. That's all that this is, and it's an informational meeting. So it's Thursday, October 17th from 5 to 8 p.m. at North Middle School in 350 Wicks Road in Brentwood. And it's something that if you're interested in Heartland, it's going to be one of the largest developments we have ever seen. Right in the middle of our island, 9,990, the equivalent of 5 Empire State Buildings of
Yes,
density.
5 Empire State Buildings.
5 Empire State Buildings of density. The wind is really picking up out there.
Mhm. I
Oh,
just,
yeah. I can,
Didn't they
I
call this a boom burst? The dog's barking. It's so bad out there right now.
bomb
It's a-
cyclone.
Cyclone. Finley, it's okay, honey. It's just a tornado. It's fine. We're all going to Kansas. It's fine. Okay, well, the dog's gonna keep this up. We're gonna go ahead and hold on. Take it over for a second. And calm her.
I can't take it over.
It's okay, dog. It's
Why
only
did
you know. Let me let the doggy out. You
She's
go outside.
outside your
She
Finley.
sets us up and then she leaves.
Go outside. It's beautiful out there. Go outside, dog.
You let her out. Oh,
No, I'm just trying to calm her a little bit.
I'm kidding.
Oh.
Oh, goodness. So, we have a special interview on Monday. Mr. Gene Cook will be with us. That's
I'll be absent for that one.
what?
I won't be there for that interview. I know you guys will miss me, but I'm just kidding. I'll be there. I'll be the
I
first
was
one.
gonna say,
Fine.
if you're not going to be there, we're going to reschedule. So you can, that's going to be some heavy
You're
bullshit. You
terrible.
think you're going to back out?
Terrible.
I will reschedule.
And then after Jeans, we'll have Patrick coming up. Patrick Deegan.
Yes, we Patrick, if you're watching, we're just trying to get through the next couple. We're definitely putting you on. It's just hard to come here. It's hard enough to come here once a week with all of us because we have kids, family schedules, and everything else. Let alone 2 or 3 times a week, which we're finding ourselves doing. So it's just a scheduling conflict that we're trying to do. So, okay, I hope everyone enjoyed this evening's Huntington View. I'm going to go give my dog some Prozacs now, or whatever's going to calm her. Prozac doesn't do that, right?
No.
Shit. Okay.
He'll
I don't
treat
even
and
have
love.
that. So have a good evening, everyone. And we hope you enjoyed
Bye.
Huntington View.